Hey everyone, got a great question. Basically, I did my first shirtless video there a couple of weeks back. Somebody asking, you're photoshopped, you don't really look like that. So I did a shirtless video just to say, I am actually in pretty decent shape. So, question coming asking, do I stay lean all year round? And if so, how do I do it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my tips for people for staying lean all year round, because that's really the key. It's great getting into shape, but it's holding and sustaining that's the most important thing. The answer is I stay lean all year round. This is my off-season shape, or quote unquote off-season. I always tell people that the way I look is a byproduct of the way I live. I never intentionally go in. I personally don't give a shit how I look. I don't care. People's opinions of how I look is irrelevant to me. I train because it clears my head. It gives me a lot of mental clarity. It allows me to get a second wind for the day when I need to work, and does all the amazing things for me. The way I look is a byproduct of that. I don't care. It's the same with my food. The way I eat, I'm lean because of the way I eat and the way that I live. But I'm also going to share the tips that help me stay this way through the year. So the biggest thing for me is, obviously, your diet's number one. If you want to stay lean all year round, you need to get a diet and a nutritional plan in place that's sustainable, that you can stick to. I said this on my program, the 6-week program that I released, that it's pretty hard to get in shape. It's kind of like pushing a big massive tire up a hill. It's pretty hard to get in shape, but it's actually pretty easy to stay in shape, to hold that tire at the top of a hill. So what I always say to people is, diet hard for your 6 or 12 weeks or whatever it is, get into good shape, and then it's pretty easy to hold it there as long as you've got plans and stuff in place. But diet's massive for this. For me, I had a conversation with a girl yesterday. She's actually one of the girls in my program, she's in Galway, and I was chatting to her. She's in that 6-week program that I launched in the top 50 group, and I was telling her, the less jobs you give your body to do, the better it's going to be at burning body fat and building muscle. And I've said it before, I wouldn't be genetically elite in any way, shape or form. My genetics are good, they're fine, but I also don't give my body other jobs to do, so that when I need to drop body fat or I need to build muscle, it's really, really efficient at doing those things. So things like, I don't eat processed foods. I've talked about what happens with processed foods in the body. It's kind of not dissimilar to trans fats, where you eat processed foods or garbage food. Your body has to deal with processing the preservatives and shit that's in that before it's even going to bother building muscle or burning fat. So you give it one extra job. I always use the analogy that if I ask you, I'll give you 15 minutes and I'm like, okay, go clean all the dishes and go clean the mop and clean the floor. You're going to do a subpar job on both, because you need to get both jobs done. Whereas if you said, you got 15 minutes there, just clean the floor, fucking floor would be spotless. Your body's the same way when it's trying to lose body fat and build muscle. If it has to break down preservatives and pesticides and all the shit that's in your food, it's now got one more job to do, so it's not going to focus on burning body fat or building muscle. So all of those things add up over time. So if your body's got no other jobs to do, and it's not worried about processed foods or things. Another thing is the free radicals in the air. So if you're taking antioxidants, and your diet and stuff is good and there's antioxidants, those free radicals in the air, the toxins and shit that go into your body, they're not going to hinder your performance to lose fat or build muscle, because the reality is your body's so efficient at what it's doing, it doesn't need any of those. It doesn't need to spend time worrying about something else. It can just burn the body fat or build muscle. That goes in every aspect. That goes for alcohol, that goes for drugs, that goes for all the other shit that your body needs to break down. I don't talk about it that often. I don't drink, rarely, on occasion, but I'm aware of what's happening to my body when I do. Things like drugs, trying to limit those out of your life as much as possible. Your medicational, your recreational, your anabolics, your whatever the fuck you're taking, limit that, because all that shit is doing is putting pressure on your body, so that when you go to try and do the other things that you want, like losing body fat and building muscle, your body has other jobs to deal with. So make sure that your body's in a healthy position, that it doesn't need to focus on these other things. So that's number one. Once you get that in place, it's really, really easy, because your body literally just becomes a machine. Your food is used for energy, your food is used for recovery, and you're not worried about other things. So it makes it really easy to stay lean all year round. That's one. Two is training. A massive thing that I noticed in my training is that I always keep my training at kind of a high intensity level. I've talked before, and I've talked about it at length. So if you've downloaded my free ebook, The Top 10 Ways to Build Muscle and Lose Body Fat at the Same Time, you'll see that I'm like talking about the energy systems, your glucose, your glycogen, your body fat, and how you want your body to tap into those fat stores as much as possible. Another flip side of that is if you're already lean and those body fats aren't that high, you can always train high intensity. You're always going to be tapping into that glycogen and taking that last bit of body fat so that you never actually add to it. I'm a big proponent of high intensity training. Anyone that's followed any of my plans, or anyone in my my top 50, or anyone that's downloaded the 6 week build muscle, lose fat and tone up program, you see that my training programs are hard. They're obviously you can take it at your own pace and you add your own resistance and stuff like that, but the programs by themselves are hard. I've timed workouts so that you're tearing as many fibers as possible, and timing your cardio so that you're burning as much fat as possible. Everything is timed and structured, and there's a reason for everything. I will never work with anybody in a group or design a program where I can't tell you the why for the timing of this meal, or the timing of that workout, or the reasons for that movement. There's a why for everything, and knowing that why helps massively with your progress. So for me, high intensity training always works. I keep my volume high. Personally, my body responds better to it, but it also keeps me really lean because I'm constantly tearing fibers, which are elevating my metabolism, which allow me to eat more food and get better recovery from it. So there's kind of two things: your diet, where you're cutting out all the shit from it; your training, where you're working in a high intensity zone. And on top of the high intensity zone, if you're above 70% of your max heart rate, so your max heart rate is 220 minus your age, if you're at 70% of your max heart rate, you don't even need to do that calculation. If you're like, when you're training, where you can kind of talk to somebody but you're pretty out of breath, you're at 70% of above your max heart rate is a good general rule. So staying above 70% of your max heart rate throughout your training session, that's going to give you a massive metabolic spike every time you train. If you're in the gym and you're fucking on your phone, or you're talking to someone and wasting 4 or 5 minutes between sets, you're wasting your time. If you're trying to get lean and stay fucking lean, go in and do your workouts. Hit it hard and get out. If I'm in the gym, and my clients, I love this. You can spot my clients a mile away because they're in their fucking on their stopwatch, on their phone, and they're like, all right, bang, set done, and they're on the stopwatch, they're looking at it 60 seconds, bang, they're back in again. You can see that in the majority of the people I work with. You can see it when I train myself. I'm literally in there, and every single rest is timed so that I'm working within my parameters. That compound effect over time. If you're doing that, what I said about the food and what I'm saying about training, you do that for 6 months, your body's not going to be long getting into good shape and then holding it in that shape. So make sure you've got a good program in place, a good nutritional plan in place, and get yourself to the top of that hill, and it's really, really easy to hold it there. So stay lean all year round, and they're my top kind of tips that I use personally for me. There's other things like making sure your supplements and stuff are good, but the reality is 90% of that comes from diet and training. So that's my advice to you. Hope this video helps. Please like and share the page. If you've got any comments, I'll be replying for the next 24 hours.